Hello, everyone, and welcome to our course, How to Guide Students in the Use of ChatGPT, presented by the Levy Library and created in collaboration with Scholarly and Research Technologies. This workshop is part of a workshop series that includes 7 different courses. They are flanked by Foundations of ChatGPT and also foundation courses on creating custom GPTs, using ChatGPT for data analysis and visualization, and prompt engineering. Additional courses include the course we are in now, How to Guide Students in the Use of ChatGPT, Guiding Students in the Use of ChatGPT in Research, and Incorporating ChatGPT into Critical Thinking assignments. Those last 3 courses are geared towards faculty. During this workshop, we will be meeting 3 learning objectives. Describe how ChatGPT can be used as a tool for learning, critical thinking, and analysis from the perspective of a mentor, teacher, or peer. Also, recognize strategies for guiding students in the responsible use of ChatGPT for literature searching, data synthesis, and idea generation, while avoiding plagiarism and over-reliance. And identify resources available for students seeking additional guidance on ethical and effective use of AI in learning. To set the stage for this course and provide some background, it's important to understand that our goal today is to teach functional, responsible, and ethical use of AI when appropriate. Here at Mount Sinai, we have a varied landscape, from using AI all the time to staying away from it. And we have to understand that landscape in order to set the stage for this course. What we are going to do today is to teach you how to guide students, not with the technical skills required. There's other classes that we can teach a little bit of that in, but rather by a set of guiding principles. Locating and interpreting the guardrails from departments, scholarly communities, or individual classes is going to be paramount to success. And avoiding plagiarism by teaching students how to appropriately use and cite these tools.
Before we dive into the different types of AI users, it's important to acknowledge that not all AI tools are generative. While tools like ChatGPT generate text, code, or images based on user input, other AI tools focus on predictive analytics, data visualization, or automation. Understanding this distinction helps us better guide students in choosing the right tool for the right purpose. With this in mind, it's also important to recognize that both students and educators engage with AI in different ways. Some fully embrace it, making it an integral part of their workflow. Others use it occasionally, while some remain hesitant or avoid it altogether. This variation in experience and comfort level shapes how we approach AI in education. Now, let's look at the first group, super users. These are individuals who have fully integrated ChatGPT into their academic and personal workflows. They often subscribe to paid versions for better performance and actively experiment with advanced prompting techniques to refine their output. They are comfortable navigating AI capabilities. However, they may also be over-reliant on it, making it important to encourage critical thinking and verification of AI-generated content. Next, we have casual users. These individuals use ChatGPT occasionally but don't deeply engage with it. They may not fully understand its potential or its limitations. Their interactions tend to be basic, one-off queries without much refinement. This group benefits from structured guidance on how to use AI more effectively, whether in research, writing, or problem solving. Finally, we have skeptics and avoiders. This group uses ChatGPT minimally or not at all. They may be hesitant due to concerns about ethics, accuracy, or academic integrity, or simply a lack of trust in AI tools. Some may be unaware of how AI can be used productively, while others may have strong reservations about its role in education. For this group, The goal is not to force AI use, but rather to create opportunities for discussion and help them understand where AI can be a helpful tool rather than a threat. Recognizing these different levels of AI engagement, both among students and faculty, helps us tailor our approach. Whether we're working with a super user, a casual user, or a skeptic, our role as educators is to provide guidance that fosters responsible, ethical, and effective AI use. By understanding the different ways students and educators engage with AI, we can better support them in using these tools effectively. Our role isn't just to acknowledge these differences, but to actively bridge the gap, ensuring that everyone, whether a super user, a casual user, or a skeptic, has the knowledge and strategies to navigate AI responsibly and meaningfully. Bridging the AI engagement gap isn't about pushing AI on those who are hesitant or limiting those who are already adept at using it. Instead, it's about meeting both students and educators where they are, providing the right level of guidance, fostering responsible AI use, and ensuring that AI serves as a tool for learning rather than a shortcut. So, how do we actually bridge this gap in practice? It starts with understanding the dynamics between faculty and students. Some students may be AI super users, while their instructors are skeptical. Others may be hesitant to use AI even when their faculty are experienced with it. Each of these scenarios presents unique challenges and opportunities. For example, when a faculty member is skeptical, but their students are advanced AI users, the best approach is to acknowledge the student's expertise while emphasizing responsible AI use, verification of outputs, and critical engagement with AI generated content. On the other hand, if both faculty and students are skeptical, structured, low-risk AI exploration can help introduce AI's potential without overwhelming them. The key is to tailor our approach, guiding students based on their level of engagement, modeling best practices, and creating opportunities for critical discussions. By doing so, we ensure that AI enhances learning in a way that is both ethical and effective.
Here are some examples where AI can serve as an academic coach. In class today, we learned about the intersection of X and Y. My teacher explained it as, could you provide additional examples and alternate explanations? So in this prompt, we're asking ChatGPT to give an alternative explanation of something that was already taught once, understanding that different students learn at different paces and from different types of exposure. I am doing a search for X treatment, but coming up empty. Can you suggest alternative search terms? Here is what I have already tried. So in this example, we're using ChatGPT as a helper, as somebody that can give us feedback on what we've already done and expand on what we've done so that we can come up with alternates and expand our search before we go to the professor for additional help. A third example is create a set of practice questions based on my current understanding of climate change that are aligned with the learning objectives. Make sure they are third order questions. So here we're allowing students to have a little bit more exposure, a little bit more questions, a little bit more practice based on what their individual needs are. So let's say it was a much larger lecture and it was really the climate change that was difficult for the student. Well, the student can ask for additional information on that topic and practice that with questions that are application questions, that third order question scenario. The last area is I would like to practice my presentation with you. Please provide me with feedback on tone, clarity, and if it is tailored to a novice audience. So in this example, what we have is a student or anyone really giving a presentation to ChatGPT verbally and getting participation as ChatGPT as the audience to get feedback on that particular area. So we divided setting the stage for working with your students into three separate categories: making your knowledge known, clear syllabus wording, and explicit assignment instructions. When we think about making our knowledge known, we're sharing with our students what we know about ChatGPT and how we are using ChatGPT to show them that we do have some background information on it. So it might sound something like this. You might include some of these components: who you are, how you use it, a recent use case, when you definitely don't use it, and a funny error AI has recently made. Mine might look like this. Hi, I'm Marta. I'll be your instructor for this class. I wanted to share with you a little bit about how I use AI in my daily work. And one of the ways that I use AI is helping check my work. So I might be prepping for a presentation with you all or prepping some examples. And I asked ChatGPT to anticipate some questions you all might have. I find it really helpful because I could really get ahead and make sure you get exactly what you need during the class. I'd also like to tell you about some ways that ChatGPT has not been helpful to me. And one of those ways is creating groups for you all. When I asked you for your schedule so I can create your groups and asked AI to use those schedules to fit a certain type of criteria, once it ran out of options, it just kind of put the last five of you or so in one group with very, very different schedules. So that wouldn't have been very helpful, as some of you would have been meeting when you were at work or in other classes. And so I just wouldn't use it for that example. Um, so by providing this information, you're letting the students know that it is something you can use ethically. You wouldn't use it in all cases, but also it's not an imperfect system. It's not this magic pill, right? That we often look for. Moving into clear syllabus wording. So when doing the research for what is found in syllabi, or guidance for syllabi pertaining to the use of AI, we found that there's a couple of components. So if you look on the left-hand side of the screen, you'll see that there's different components of AI use. So is AI use fully permitted in this class? Is it partially permitted, meaning only in certain cases? Is it permitted with citations? Is it permitted just for certain assignments? And how do students know that it is permitted for partial use? And in what ways is it permitted? Or is it fully prohibited in a specific course? So this might be course or topic specific, or might be adapted by the department. But here's one example from guidance language from Harvard. Certain assignments in this course will permit or even encourage the use of generative artificial intelligence tools such as ChatGPT. The default is that such use is disallowed unless otherwise stated. So in this case, it is partially permitted, but the default is that it is prohibited, not allowed, unless stated that is permitted. Any such use must be appropriately acknowledged and cited. So note that it is permitted with citations in this case. There's also a disclaimer. It is each student's responsibility to assess the validity and applicability of any generative AI output that is submitted. You bear the final responsibility. Violations of this policy will be considered academic misconduct, so it draws your attention back to policy. And then what I really like in this course or in this example is that it sets the tone for this course, but not for other courses. So we draw your attention to the fact that different classes at this university could implement different AI policies. And it is the student's responsibility to conform to the expectations for each course. And I think that that's such a wonderful statement to be added when you're teaching in a department with people with various assignments and topics and outlooks on the use of AI. And I think that that needs to be respected. Finally, we move to explicit assignment and task instructions. So assignment instructions should be or should include outside of the syllabus, whether or not the use of AI is permissible or non-permissible for this assignment, and what uses specifically for that assignment are permissible and non-permissible. It may include sample prompts that are allowed or encouraged, and it should encourage students to cite and tell them how to cite and disclose the use of AI. And we'd also like to share with you that this parallels what journals are currently requiring. This slide discusses what is needed in Nature. Nature talks about AI authorship, and it states that using large language models, such as ChatGPT, does not currently satisfy authorship criteria. So the use of ChatGPT or another AI generative model what does not allow the author to carry accountability for that work. The use of large language models should also be properly documented in the methods section. So in the event that you do use a large language model for the study, you should document that in the methods section or wherever applicable by that journal. However, it does also note that there are items outside of generative AI tools, such as AI tools that are assisted copy editing, like very much like what we do when we use spell check. And those purposes do not need to be declared. So they also define that further. They give a little bit more information. And they also, just like that syllabus version, stated human accountability for the final version is required. So you see that scholarly work in journals really mirrors what is needed in both syllabi, but also in assignments. Another space that they discuss in Nature is generative images, because this does extend beyond written language. And here we talk about the fast-moving area of generative AI image creation, carries copyright policies. And so right now, in most cases, AI-generated images and videos are not allowed to be used for publication because it is unresolved and it is rapidly evolving. So it's important for us to know as educators that you don't have to know how to do everything, but it's rather on providing guidance as to where to point your student or learner to and where to seek the additional trainings. So here we have a graphic that tells us about executing, interpreting, and acknowledging. And I find that students are really good at asking questions about execution, how do I do something? But interpreting and acknowledging might be a little bit more difficult. So we wanted to share with you a tool for a discussion that was created at Mount Sinai to sort of address each of the points in this circle. So this is an example of a tool for discussion created at Mount Sinai. This is an agreement between a learner and a faculty member about the use of generative AI in the preparation of a thesis proposal. Please note that this landscape is ever changing and evolving, and that this is a guiding document. You can amend or alter this document to your needs as fits your course or your learning needs. This next section on intellectual property and privacy laws talks about your intellectual property and the fact that when you upload ideas into ChatGPT or other generative AI, these may be used to then train the model. Now, there are licenses where that might not happen, but this is a risk that you run. The third section talks about publishing restrictions. So anything that is AI produced, AI generated cannot be copyrighted. It is not considered your own individual work, but rather the work of AI. And then finally, the last section talks about rigor and reproducibility. So if you ask AI to help explore research questions or summarize literature, you will have to validate all of the statements and citations provided. You have to make sure that you go back to the content and verify the content that AI is providing you. But also, you have to retain documentation of your prompts, the date, the models, and outputs for accountability purposes, just as you would document experiments in your lab notebook. Again, going back to the rigor and reproducibility of an experiment. So again, this can be modified for an assignment, or it can be modified for a task or working within a lab or for publication. So helping students execute and interpret really has four pillars. Training tool function, so understanding the use of the tool. Prompt engineering, writing a good prompt or rewriting a prompt multiple times if needed. Understanding the limitations and the need for the human in the loop to verify the content that is produced by the generative AI tools, and providing disclosures on the use of AI. In this section, we're going to share with you how to document AI use and learning. So AI use can be documented by using APA-style citations and references. Note that individual journals might have other type of style requirements. Provide AI use documentation. When did you use the tool? What tool did you use? And what prompt did you use? As well as what was the output? And an AI acknowledgement statement saying that AI was used for the creation of a given item. We can also use AI in learning. So your assignment or your syllabus might include how to describe the AI collaboration. So what portions did you do? What portions did AI do? And how did that collaboration go? Or you might have to complete an AI process form or reflection, or add that to one of your assignments where you're saying, hey, this is what AI generated for me, and this is how I verified it. This is what I thought was a high point. This is what I thought was a limitation, and this is how I would use it ethically.
As AI becomes more integrated into education, one challenge we may face is determining when students have used AI in ways that don't align with course policies. But instead of immediately assuming misconduct, it's important to approach these situations as opportunities for learning. When you suspect that a student has submitted unacknowledged AI-generated content, the first step should be to consider it a teaching moment rather than just a punitive issue. AI tools are still new to many students, and some may not fully understand what responsible AI use looks like. It's also crucial to recognize that plagiarism detection tools have limitations. For example, Safe Assign in Blackboard doesn't assess AI generated writing, meaning it won't flag AI use directly. Authenticate, on the other hand, does offer AI similarity reporting, but no tool is foolproof. This means that while technology can help, identifying AI generated work often requires deeper conversations with students. Many institutions are adopting a conversation first approach rather than relying solely on detection tools. Instead of accusing a student outright, consider asking about their thought process. How did they develop their ideas? What steps did they take in researching or writing? You can also ask directly if they used AI and, if possible, request to see their saved prompts to better understand how exactly they engaged with the tools. Ultimately, the goal is not just to catch AI misuse, but rather to help students understand how to use these tools transparently and ethically. By fostering open discussions, we can guide them toward responsible AI use while maintaining academic integrity for everyone involved. So, as we wrap up, here are a few key takeaways from this session. AI can support students in learning critical thinking and analysis when used responsibly. Rather than viewing AI as a shortcut or a risk, we should frame it as a supplement to learning when appropriate. Educators play a vital role in discussions with students about when and how to use AI responsibly and ethically. And students look to us for guidance. So, open conversations about AI benefits, limitations, and ethical considerations are essential. It is also important to establish clear guidelines on AI use, whether at the institutional department or course level. Setting expectations ensures students understand how and when AI can be used appropriately. Documentation can be helpful in both understanding AI use and in learning about AI itself. Encouraging students to document their AI interactions, such as prompts used, can provide insight into their thought processes and all that while reinforcing ethical engagement. So ultimately, AI is here to stay. And our role as educators is to help students navigate it thoughtfully, critically, and responsibly. By equipping ourselves with the right knowledge and strategies, we can ensure AI enhances, but not replaces, the learning experience.